Today, Senator Ted Cruz is hammered by reporters for taking a trip to Cancun. Also, the Biden administration can't quite explain why, despite lockdowns, California's virus numbers are, in fact, the same as Florida's. We have got a lot coming up this Friday, and it starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez. It's Friday, and finally the sun is out. The ice and snow are thawing on the streets. I'm not going to lie, I still did sort of risk my life to get here today to deliver you the news, so you only owe me your undying loyalty.
Stunning and brave.
Just wanted to get that out there. Joined today by, we've got two comedians on the show, so it should be a very fun show. We've got Chrissy Mayer in the house, comedian. Also a female, which is nice to have at this table.
So hard to do both.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm brave just for putting on a dress today.
And stunning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also Tim Young, who is no stranger to the show and has already started taking advantage of the wine, Bonner wine that we have on the table because it's Friday. So. And I'm not pregnant anymore, so I can have wine, yes.
That's how you're going to get pregnant again.
I don't know about me. Oh, well, we'll see.
So Ted Cruz, not great optics this week. He took a trip to Cancun. Of course, millions in his state here in Texas were just, freezing. No power, some without water. And after some text messages leaked from the Washington Post, Heidi, his wife, they had decided that they were going to take the kids to Cancun, and some really crappy friends, quite frankly, decided to rat out Heidi's text message conversations that she was like, hey, we're going to Cancun, anyone want to come? But Ted Cruz, there were pictures taken of him flying, and he decided very, very quickly that that was a bad decision, booked a trip, turned right back around, left his family there, came back home. But here, I want to get your thoughts on this, guys. But let's go first to Ted Cruz giving an interview to the reporters saying that, it was obviously a mistake to go. On second thought, now that you caught me, it was a mistake. Watch.
Whether the decision to go was tone deaf, look, it was obviously a mistake, and in hindsight, I wouldn't have done it. I was trying to be a dad, and all of us have made decisions. When you've got two girls who have been cold for two days and haven't had heater power, and they're saying, hey, look, we don't have school, why don't we go, let's get out of here.
I kind of can't blame him, I mean, I'm like, I wish, why didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
I would have loved to have been in Cancun.
I think we should all try to be dads as soon as this show is over and book flights out of here.
Yeah.
It's still cold.
Yeah, I mean, but okay, so on one hand, you're like, all right, you got to know the optics that you're walking into, right? Like, you have to know this is going to look bad. However, he's not a state representative, right? He's a U.S. senator.
He's a state representative.
But he's not a state official.
Yeah, like, what's he going to do? Like, that's why I don't care about this.
Like, is he going to go fix your pipes?
He's going to be a lineman. He's going to go put some gloves on and a helmet and climb up on the poles.
He's going to go shovel your driveway?
Yeah.
Like, what is he supposed to do that he can't do from Cancun?
What he's supposed to do, apparently, is go politicize this tragedy and all the deaths like Beto does. Because, that guy, boy, when Texans die, does that guy show up, man? Remember that terrible, the horrible, and I mean this when I make this joke, the horrible El Paso shooting?
Yes.
Beto relaunched his campaign there. That guy is ready to dance on graves to make himself a name regardless. And I guess that's what Democrats want Ted Cruz to do. Man, look, I turned down a trip to Florida. Chrissy knows this. She was staying at my place, and I got a call, and they're like, hey, you want to come to Florida? I'm like, nah, this won't be that bad. Shame on me. I would have been out in Cancun, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like he was the guy who's supposed to be manning the plows, It's not like he got out of the truck and was like, well, screw you guys.
Texas doesn't have plows.
I know. I think
really
apparently, we found that out real quick.
Is there just one plow in the whole state?
Yeah, I think so. And it was not in Dallas for a while. But, I think I'm willing to concede, again, it doesn't look good. right? You never, I mean, when you're in politics, you know most of the game is optics. You don't want to do something that's going to look bad that the other side can then take and use against you. But I think the thing that's so frustrating for people is to see the way that the mainstream media is handling, looking at Andrew Cuomo and his, which scandal, like when I say scandal, I actually mean scandal when it comes to Andrew Cuomo, right? I mean, his policies sent a bunch of old people back into nursing homes where they killed a bunch of other old people. All right.
Thousands more.
Yeah. I mean, like it was over double, wasn't it, of what he actually reported? That's a scandal. Okay. So forgive me if when I listen to CNN and MSNBC talk about, overwhelming coverage of Ted Cruz and how he tried to escape to Cancun with his daughters because they said that they were freezing and what a scandal it was. I'm sorry, but I'm not moved by that.
Let's be real here. If Ted Cruz stayed in the state and said anything, he would have been hammered anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
He can't win.
Yeah.
Yes.
So screw him. I'm editing myself. I want to say F him here. But it's like, at this point, he can't win. Republicans can't win. Who cares what CNN and MSNBC have to say? Do whatever you want to do. Like, we know that Ted Cruz is a conservative. He's standing up for what he needs to stand up for. If he wants to go to Cancun during this, I honestly just don't care.
Yeah. Like if he were seen going out and buying a new winter coat, they would have hammered him for that
How
too.
dare he?
Right.
That winter coat could have been given to children.
Yeah,
He should freeze like the rest of us.
Yeah.
He is not a man of the people. They're trying to paint him as a hypocrite, though. And I'm like,
for what?
So because if only you would have given that same type of coverage and this hypocritical, label to the California officials who were putting all of their people on lockdowns and then going out to fancy restaurants for dinner without masks. The Pennsylvania state health director who made the same kind of policy that Andrew Cuomo did, but then took her mom out of the nursing home to make sure that her mom didn't get sick. I mean, if they had only spent the airtime and the coverage talking about these types of hypocritical moves, maybe I'd be willing to buy into it. But I can't muster up I was going to say a word too
I just don't care anymore. I don't care anymore what these people have to say.
The cares to give. That's what I'll say.
I don't care what this corporate media has to say anymore. Like it just literally, they're going to criticize anything. We saw what they did with Trump. He couldn't win regardless of what he did. He could have cured cancer. They would have still hammered him. It wouldn't have been the right cure for cancer. I mean, come on. He came up with he actually found under Project Warp Speed, got 2 vaccines made, and they're ignoring that. Like nothing happened. It doesn't matter. Ted, take vacations whenever you want, man. Just vote on the right stuff in Congress. That's your job. You're doing it.
So do you think the average Texan, let's say, someone who lost power, lost hot water, really suffered during this, do you think that they're going to have a second thought when they go to the polls if they were someone who previously had voted for Ted Cruz and now they're like, well, I don't know, I really don't appreciate the way that he treated this when I was in need?
When's he up for election? 4 years?
Yes.
Nobody will remember
they'll
this
forget
by then. Yeah, so much other stuff will happen by then.
Yeah.
I'm just
He'll
imagining
shave his beard at some point and they'll be like, oh my God, he's a Nazi for shaving his beard.
He's a different guy. I just imagine him at the Cancun airport, chugging margaritas, let me get a couple in before I have to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Love that guy.
I mean, you have to believe, though, that his trip would have been a lot longer.
Yeah.
I think so.
He's like, did you see the interview where he said, look, when we got on the plane, we were flying there, and I was already having second thoughts. So I'm like, come on, Ted,
At least he wore his mask this time instead of taking it down to take a drink of coffee. Remember that nonsense a year ago?
That's
ridiculous.
True. So do you think then, did he make a mistake by saying it was a mistake?
Yes. He should double down.
Well,
really?
I
do my job.
Look, because you'd look at Nancy Pelosi, who she was in San Francisco. All of the businesses had to be shut down. No one could go to work. Everyone's suffering and trying to feed their families on nothing. And she goes out and gets her hair done.
She had to get her hair done. I mean, come on, you can't have roots if you're Speaker of the House. It's just,
But you don't see Nancy Pelosi going out and saying, obviously, I made a mistake.
Yeah,
You see, the Democrats, they own it. They double down on it.
No, it's a conspiracy. That's what she said. They were out to get her.
Yes.
How dare that Solano host or whatever owner bother?
No, I'm not saying that Ted Cruz should say it's a conspiracy. Don't go full Nancy. Because no one should go full Nancy.
No.
But if you just at least go half Nancy, and I think you got to play their game. You don't apologize for anything. Right. You don't you can't, because they will take that and they will run with it and they will never let you live it down.
Yeah, he should have doubled down. He should have gone after Beto. Listen, if he would hire me just to do a little bit of comms work for him, I'd be happy to.
You just come on here trying to get a job, Tim?
Well, you guys don't pay. But I mean, here's the thing. I would literally have turned it on Beto and been like, this is all a political game. He's out there playing a game, doing nothing but talking, and doing his little phone campaign or whatever, calling 300,000 people. That's just a calling campaign for Beto and his eventual run for governor, apparently, is what he's going to do here, and make sure he loses the trifecta of everything. But they need to double down on that. Forget this. Go meta on this. Take a look at what Donald Trump's lawyer did last week. I forget the guy's name. He's got a weird name, the Vander or whatever. I don't know his name. When he called out the media on their biasness and just hit that. Beat them up. Don't answer the question and never cave to the mob.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. The dad story sounded bad, but like I'm thinking it would have been better if he hadn't had the whole dad story. It probably would have sounded slightly better if he was just like, oopsie, at least he tried to have some excuse that was somewhat believable.
I want to be on Heidi Cruz's text message like, hey, you want to come to Cancun with us?
Yeah,
like,
who are these horrible friends of theirs?
I mean,
this
really.
Is bad. I think some of their friends need to get the boot.
I bet they're named Karen.
Well, it's not just that, but I mean, this story was all over Twitter, and I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Twitter said that like leaked messages were not okay. They would remove you if you posted anything having to do with leaked messages. You couldn't get your information from that when it was, Hunter Biden, smoking crack. But now
with
that
teenagers
it's
or whatever that was,
right,
allegedly.
But now that it's Heidi Cruz saying, "Hey, our kids are freezing and we want to go to Cancun," all of a sudden. It's circulating on Twitter all over the place. I don't see them shutting it down. I'm very shocked.
Yeah, me too. Wow, I'm really heartbroken by this decision. I can't figure out. I've been emailing Twitter support all week waiting for Jack to act.
Yeah, I mean, if it takes them, I've seen how long it takes Twitter to take down like actual Twitter accounts that have like child porn on them. Like you can't expect them to follow any of the other rules.
You're following child porn accounts on Twitter? What's
no,
happening?
just trying to take them down.
Okay, I'm just worried about you, Chrissy.
So, Chrissy, Tim mentioned Beto. So you're from New York, right? So what do you think, looking in as a New Yorker, looking in at the race that just happened between Beto and Cruz, and just kind of I feel like he's a character, like he's a caricature,
like
Beto
a cartoon
O'Rourke.
character.
Yeah. What is your perspective on what he's about?
I feel, first and foremost, I picked the absolute worst time to visit Dallas. I was so excited. I was like, sundresses, 60-degree weather, we're doing it. I definitely feel like, above all, they're really blowing up this Cruz thing to avoid focus on Cuomo, for sure.
Yeah. But do you think that is Beto a thing in New York? I feel like he's
People
a thing
don't really
everywhere.
Talk about him very much.
Because he got most of the money that he got was from outside the state.
Wow.
So I know that like New York, California, I know really like the outsiders really loved him when he was running in Texas. Not so much though when he was running for president.
Yeah,
I don't know where they went.
No.
I guess they realized they had enough of him that they were like, oh.
Isn't he still like the
sucks.
assistant night manager at a Starbucks somewhere, like in his spare time? Like, I don't know what's he doing when he's not running for office.
Nobody really knows.
Who pays him?
Himself.
Black Lives Matter?
Himself.
Maybe he
think he married someone that was very rich, I think.
Maybe he has
that's how he got. Do you not know this? That's how he got like his start in politics.
He married rich?
In local, yeah.
Republican women.
Political.
If you need a sugar kid or whatever you call it, I'll run for office. Just pay for my lifestyle like Beto O'Rourke.
Wow.
Well, I don't know that we're going to get any responses to that inquiry, Tim, but it's a good try.
I'm trying.
It's a good try.
I'm just trying to make money today.
All right. So after the break, we've got Biden advisor, COVID advisor, really actually knows nothing about why, despite all of these lockdowns, California not doing as hot, or maybe just kind of the same as Florida, except all of their businesses are, demolished. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Bonner Wines. If you haven't noticed, we've been enjoying our Bonner wine because it's Friday, and it's not just Friday. We've been iced in. And here's the thing. When you get iced and snowed in, you want to make sure that you don't run out of this, okay? You really, really want to make sure that you don't run out of this because it gets a little bit, it gets a little dicey when you're snowed in and you don't have power and you don't have heat. So you need the wine to keep you warm. By the way, if you're like, well, wine adds extra calories. Are you?
Yeah, they tell us when as soon as the power goes out, don't drink caffeine and don't drink alcohol. And I was like, well, there's nothing I want to drink more than alcohol when the power goes out.
I know, but okay. So Tim's enjoying the Bonner wine, but here's the thing: is it's actually they've got like no preservatives, the additives and stuff. It's like the healthiest wine that you can get. So you can be healthy, you can help stay warm.
Liquid vitamins.
Yes. So, I mean, I don't think that you need anything else other than that. Also, it's a very good wine. So you got to go to cowgirlwine2021.com. If you go there today, you'll get 50% off of the wine and 50% off of the shipping. By the way, they just got restocked because they're so good. They didn't have any more. They were like, oh crap, we ran out because people kept buying them and buying them and buying them. They're finally restocked. So you're going to want to get this before they go away again. Cowgirlwine2021.com. That is 50% off the wine, 50% off of the shipping. Cowgirlwine2021.com. Back in a minute. The White House senior advisor for COVID response, Andy Slavitt, had a very hard time answering a question on MSNBC when he was asked. So, California has not actually done better than, say, Florida when you look at the actual numbers, even though California has just completely decimated their economy by shutting down all of these businesses. He could not tell you, don't know why he has the title, what is a senior advisor for COVID response? Usually when you are the senior advisor for COVID response, you want to actually have a response that makes sense. Andy couldn't cut it. Here it is.
Contrast states like Florida and California. California basically in lockdown, and their numbers aren't that different from Florida.
Well, good morning, Stephanie. Look, there's so much of this virus that we think we understand, that we think we can predict, that's just a little bit beyond our explanation. What we do know is that the more careful people are, the more they mask and social distance, and the quicker we vaccinate, the quicker it goes away and the less it spreads. Wow. But we have got to get better visibility into variants. We don't know what role they play, large events, etc. But this is as we all have learned by this time, this is a virus that continues to surprise us. It's very hard to predict. And all around the country, we've got to continue to do a better job. And I think we are, but we're not done yet.
So there it is, White House senior advisor for COVID response, giving a response that does not include anything having to do with science. Absolutely nothing.
I always know that they're secretly panicking if their response is good morning.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's just like, how much time can I buy by just saying a bunch of things while I think of something in my head to respond with? Hello. How are the kids?
Well, how are you?
How are you?
Great weather we're having.
Yeah.
Oh God.
It's pretty. So on one hand, I watch this and I'm like, God, this is really pathetic. And then on the other hand, I watch it and I'm like, enjoy, America.
Yeah.
Enjoy, because there were far too many of you. Say what you will about the results of the election, which I won't because I'd like for this video to stay on YouTube. But there were still far too many people who thought that this would be a good idea because, we had a president who was a big meanie on Twitter.
He said mean things.
He did.
The thing is, her question was false to begin with because the numbers aren't close in California and Florida. The numbers are significantly worse in California. Mm-hmm. And I've drank at bars in Florida. There's this place I go to. I get a Bloody Mary. It's got a crab claw in it. It's fantastic. It's always a packed bar because it's like $12 for this thing. It's got a crab claw. It's got a scallop. It's got a shrimp. It's a whole thing. Anyway, I like going there for that and hanging out with
normal human beings.
Hold on. Let's talk about this drink.
Yeah, hold on. Do you eat the meat in the crab claw?
You have to crack. Yeah,
a lot of it comes with
vodka?
a meal. Yeah,
it's fantastic. It's in the Bloody Mary, so it's got the tomato. It's fantastic.
Really?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
But you can go to Florida and get those, and you can hang out with people and not wear masks and live your life and not get COVID and not die from COVID.
Right.
Turns out, as opposed to being locked down and living in fear. I just think this is amazing, but I'm sure that Stephanie Rulli will be corrected. I'm sure she got a lot of mean emails from the White House. They'll destroy you. What did the one guy say who got fired? We will destroy you.
Yeah, I will destroy you. Which is a common phrase, I guess, because Andrew Cuomo used it as well.
Democrats love that. They love destroying people.
Yeah, that's what they want to do is just destroy people. TJ Ducklo, no longer with... no longer with us. He has
moved on.
resigned. Yes, he has resigned.
Where's he
from
working
the
for
White
now?
House.
Black Lives Matter? They need media people.
I was visiting my dad in Naples, Florida for Thanksgiving, and there was like no really masks wearing, social distancing, not really. Although it was lame for Thanksgiving, like we had somebody accompany us, like help us get our food from like whatever, fancy place he lives in. It was kind of lame, but Florida, we could. Oh, so here's what. So he stays in this like resort, like. It's not an old folks home. It's like where you live if you retire, if you like have money or whatever.
Retirement community.
A retirement, area. And
someone picks out his
so
plate.
you have somebody was like going with you to like put your food on your plate at Thanksgiving. And so I had to confront my own like eating feelings. I was like, can I have more stuffing? And then they look at you, they kind of judge you forever at how much. But you have a spooner, basically. You have a person who accompanies you around the table, around the buffet, and you have to say, I want more, and then they look at you like you're fat.
I've been going to this buffet at this dive bar in Grapevine for a while now, and I love it. I still haven't gotten COVID.
The Food Channel.
Yeah, I can't even. I mean, I love it down there. Like it's like shady salad at this like smoky dive bar, and I love it. So
back to the news of the day, though. Slavit, however you say his name.
He looks like it.
He said, what we do know is the more careful people are, the more they mask and social distance, and the quicker we vaccinate, the quicker it goes away and the less it spreads. And I'm like, literally everything you said there, no science to back it up.
Yeah.
Literally everything you said there has absolutely no evidence. But it sounded very convincing other than that.
I would have given him more credit if he just started screaming, trust the science. Just screaming that into the microphone. Trust the science!
I mean, but it's
there.
like, what are you talking about? The quicker we vaccinate, the quicker it goes away. You also have public health officials who are saying, even if you vaccinate, you still have to hunker down, you still have to wear masks. Well, we have these variants out here, which, could be even worse. So you still need a social distance. You still need to mask. It's like, what are you talking about?
Well, what they're talking about is there's a lot of money and fear, and they got to keep that ball bouncing in order to keep making keep those checks coming in. I mean, like, what's that COVID advisor guy going to do if COVID goes away? I mean, what's Anthony Fauci going to do?
Right.
He makes more money than the president.
Right.
I mean, like, these guys have to continue this narrative in order to stay relevant, and it's falling apart.
It is very incredible what a giant industry this has created on top of the vaccines. The masks. Even just the masks itself, like people don't realize it, and you're like, holy crap, we've just created a like $1 million industry, multi-million-dollar industry on masks.
California signed a $1 billion deal with a company that may or may not be linked to China. I'm not even making that up. It's a $990 million deal.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a $1 billion industry, and it's ridiculous. There are vending machines in airports to sell masks and hand sanitizer.
It's disgusting.
Wow.
Meanwhile, the Biden administration says that they're very serious about handling COVID. We have to do all of these things. We have to mask until the year 3083. We have to social distance forever. Our kids can't get back to school. Our children cannot get back to school. They are suffering. They are going to the hospital. They are having a mental health crisis. Meanwhile, they're just letting people pour in at the borders. No COVID testing, no nothing, because that would probably be inhumane, right? So Republicans on the House Oversight Committee are coming down on the Biden administration pretty hard about an impending health crisis at the southern border. They are warning that reckless policies and rhetoric from President Biden are, of course, fueling it. We've seen this happening time and time again the last several months. All of these local officials are like, you got to stop. Guys, you got to stop. You're letting people in. You're not even testing them. If you really take COVID seriously, stop doing this. Now Biden has members of his own party, the Del Rio government. The mayor of Del Rio actually posted a video on their YouTube account just begging Joe Biden to stop releasing migrants into Texas. Here that is. Do we have that?
Mr. President, my name is Bruno Lozano, Mayor of the City of Del Rio, Texas, and I am pleading and requesting with you to please put a halt to any measures regarding the release of immigrants awaiting court dates into the City of Del Rio and surrounding areas. We do not have the resources available to house and accommodate these migrants within our community. I will have no choice but to use the extreme measure under the emergency declaration as the mayor of the City of Del Rio, Texas, to refuse the entry of migrants awaiting court dates into the City of Del Rio. If you do send these individuals into our community, we will be forced to make a decision to leave them without resources under these dire circumstances. I am asking to please stop. Please make another plan for this federal issue. If you're going to allow these individuals into our community, I respectfully ask that you provide the means and the supplies necessary to accommodate them safely under these extreme circumstances. Due to the crisis, we cannot provide these supplies.
So, that's what happens when you just want to open up the gates and let the borders flood through. Resources, we kind of run out of them.
He's a Democrat. You get what you voted for. Oh, well, look, Orange Man isn't tweeting mean tweets, but when you take a look at what the Democrats were calling concentration camps with these kids being separated from potential coyotes that come across the border, it's the first time a lot of these kids have consistent supplies, have beds, have a warm place to stay. The government taking care of them, the federal government taking care of them in detention facilities is a lot better conditions than even what they started with, but especially what's happening now in Texas. And these Democrats, want to scream at Orange Man. This is what you get. And I hate that lives are on the line because of it, but learn your lesson.
Why can't we let them come through just over Zoom,
Everything else is happening over Zoom. Everything else is happening over Zoom. It's really sad because, as you said, I do tend to, there are so many things that have happened during the Biden administration in such a short time. It's only freaking February that I've been like, enjoy, guys. I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to watch the show, like the stimulus checks. They were all like, where's our $2,000? We were promised $2,000. So part of me is like, love it. Eating popcorn, gotta love it. Great job, guys. And then part of me is like, well, yes, but I'm sure that there are Republicans in Del Rio who were like, we tried. We couldn't, we couldn't do it, and now we have to suffer as well. And you got to feel for those people as well.
I feel terrible that lives are at stake, but on the same hand, I think Democrats need to learn their lesson, and this is awful. They won't. I feel like they won't.
Well, you'd have to have a brain. Never mind.
Yeah.
So we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, ExpressVPN. So, of course, big tech and the far left, they have joined forces to, I don't know if you've noticed, but just purge all of the conservative voices from existing. And not just online, by the way, they don't want you alive. They basically just want you dead, in case you haven't noticed how they reacted to Rush Limbaugh, who recently passed away. But ExpressVPN is here to make sure that you keep your own personal data, because even though they want you dead, big tech, they're still going to profit off of selling all of your information. All right. In case you didn't realize that's happening. They're taking all of your information, they're collecting it, and they are selling all of it, even though it is your information. ExpressVPN will help put a stop to that. You can search the internet, making sure that everything that you do is private. It's all encrypted. And, a lot of people are like, well, I don't go to porn sites. I don't do crazy, weird things on the internet, so I don't need protection. I don't care if they see what I'm doing. It's not about that, all right? It's about them getting all of your personal information and, again, selling it. And you look at Facebook and you're like, I wonder why they have an ad for this thing that I just talked to my spouse about. Even though I didn't type in a search for it. It's that kind of stuff that we're talking about, okay? You don't have to be a creeper on the internet to need protection. You got to go to ExpressVPN, phone, laptop, TV, whatever it is. ExpressVPN can help protect your information and keep it secure. You can go to expressvpn.com right now. By the way, if you download this app, it is not going to make all of your applications slower when you use them on your phone, anything like that, on your computer. You're not going to see a lag. You got to go to expressvpn.com/Y. That is expressvpn.com/Y. When you sign up, you will get 3 extra months for free. This is something I'm telling you, if you are a conservative, you do not want to be caught with big tech owning your information. expressvpn.com/Y to get 3 extra months. expressvpn.com/Y. Back in a minute. The Democratic lawmakers in Congress, really, fingers on the pulse of America right now, introduced a bill seeking to ban Donald Trump from having federally funded statues, monuments, street names, park benches named after him or dedicated to commemorating his presidency. Oh, and by the way, they also want to bar Trump from being buried at Arlington National Cemetery, as tradition would go. And the legislation is dubbed No Glory for Hate. So Representative Linda Sanchez of California introduced the bill, and she's got 13 Democrat co-sponsors already. So I'm glad that they are really tackling the issues that are plaguing the country right now. You know, we've got some places of the country who still businesses can't open at full capacity, open at, just work for a living to feed their families. And thank God we have the Democrats here to protect us from, a potential statue of the Orange Man.
They sound like petty ex-girlfriends. Like when you break up with somebody, we're going to delete him from everywhere. Like delete. It's the same energy.
It's the party of unity. They're just ready to unify us, and the best way to do it is to stop Orange Man. By the way, when Republicans retake Congress, which is going to happen pretty soon, I think, they should sponsor a gold statue of Donald Trump on the mall, or at least a big T.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I want a 100-foot statue of the man. Just all go. I want the world to see him.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Do their constituents, do you think, are they done with this? Because I personally, I'm I don't understand how these people keep getting elected. They're very clearly suffering from a mental illness of TDS, and they can't stop obsessing over this guy. He's gone. Let's move on as a country. And I think that's, a lot of Americans, I'd like to believe that most Americans are not like that they voted because they wanted to do what was best for the country, not because they were obsessed with a person who was president. But I don't know. I'm getting a little bit more pessimistic as the days go on that no one is going to learn their lesson from this.
It's a waste of time to spend energy and time and resources pretending the man never existed, pretending he was never in office. It's okay, you say you want to move on and unite, well then do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing. The left has been living in their own bubble on Twitter with their media friends as well for a very, very long time. So that's what they think America is.
That's a great point.
The likes and the retweets that they get from their Twitter. And I don't know if you knew this. You've been on Twitter, right?
A couple times.
Have you met those people on there? How they react to things? They're pretty much the worst of the worst. By the way, they would never say anything to you like that in public either, because they know they'd get killed.
Oh yeah.
Slapped. But that's where they're living, and that's where they're getting all of their talking points from, are the rewards that they get from CNN, MSNBC. When you have a nutcase like Joy Reid on MSNBC yapping about God knows what, a homophobic nutcase, by the way, that's where they're getting their cues.
That was her. No, her website was hacked.
Back in time, hackers created a time machine.
Yes, it was hacked. It's fine.
Wow.
Time and space. It's the WandaVision plotline, I think.
I have to pull this up because you mentioned Twitter, and it's a great point that it's just this echo chamber for them of, people who think the same as them, and they don't realize how stupid they sound to someone else. Who was it? Tariq
Nasheed?
Yes.
Love that guy. Called me a white supremacist 15 times.
Oh, okay. That's what my story is about. So he posted a video. It's a very cute video of this cute little black girl, and she's tap dancing, and she's adopted by white parents. And they got her tap shoes, and she's just discovering them.
God.
It's adorable. And she's clearly oh my gosh, I'm tapping now. It's a toddler. She has no idea. And she's having a blast.
That's racist.
And and he's white couple gets some tap shoes for their black adopted child. And I responded, and I'm if you think dancing is racist, it turns out you're actually the racist.
Yeah.
And he says, yet you work for BlazeTV, which is associated with several suspected white supremacists.
Yeah, that's what he said to me too.
I'm you don't just get to say someone is a suspected white supremacist and that's just it.
Yeah.
No, literally, that's not true.
That's his shtick, though. How many followers does he have now for this awful shtick?
260,000.
He ended up blocking me after our little thing because I threatened to sue him, and he runs when you threaten to sue him, by the way, just FYI.
Oh.
When you say that's defamation, he runs very quickly.
Well, who can blame him for not wanting to be associated with a white supremacist?
When you get a little girl's shoes, clearly you're setting her up to be...
I know, I'm because they want to provide joy for their adopted daughter?
They
wow,
want her to
what
enjoy her
horrible.
life. Yeah.
Call me when somebody puts their little kid in blackface, right? Come on. It's let's be real here.
Really?
Little kids like to dance. That's awesome. I'm glad she found a family, and he should be happy for that. But that guy, I can only imagine how miserable Tariq Nasheed is in the real world.
Yeah.
He must sit around in his mom's basement drinking alone and
He must have always wanted tap shoes as a little boy.
Maybe, and he's just projecting.
Yeah.
That might be the case. All right, we have got more to come, but we got to take a break. Back in a minute.
That clown. What a clown.
All right, in other news, Planned Parenthood has filed a federal lawsuit against South Carolina in light of their new abortion restrictions that were signed into law yesterday. The lawsuit seeks to challenge the South Carolina Fetal Heartbeat and Protection from Abortion Act, which, of course, prohibits abortions once a fetal heartbeat is detected in most circumstances. And this is history, really. The governor tweeted out, "Today we made history. The heartbeat bill is now the law of South Carolina, and we will defend it with everything in us because there is nothing more important than protecting the sanctity of life," which was followed by the Planned Parenthood tweet. It's interesting to see the different takes on this. As South Carolina's governor signed into law an unconstitutional abortion ban, Planned Parenthood and reproductive rights sued immediately to prevent this absurd restriction on health care in the middle of a pandemic from taking effect. I don't really know what the pandemic has to do with this particular law, but they wanted to make sure that you knew that this was, in fact, in the middle of a pandemic. Now, I am walking into uncharted waters because I have absolutely no idea what your stance is on abortion. But if you don't share my opinion, you will be kicked off the show. I'm just kidding. But what are your thoughts on this, Kristen?
Well, I think my best abortion years are behind me, so my thoughts on this have changed.
Now that I'm barren.
Yeah, no, I'm not barren. It's just like if I got pregnant now, I'd be like, I would keep it or I would look ridiculous. But I mean, luckily, I've never had to, make that choice. I've never had an abortion, although I am leaning more pro-life now for sure. Mm-hmm. So I'm with this, and I definitely wouldn't consider gotta get an abortion in a pandemic considered health care. I wouldn't consider that health care. If you need to get an abortion in the middle of a pandemic, you should probably look at your life a little bit closely.
Right. So as a woman, do you think that you said you are more pro-life than you have been in the past? Do you think that all of the feminists, this third wave feminist movement to, make abortion this celebrated thing, shout your abortion, let's celebrate abortions, let's show it off, let's brag about it. How many have you had? It's some sort of a competition to see how many you can rack up. Do you think that has kind of turned you on it, or at least contributed to turning you on it? Because I personally, in years past, right, I was never fully pro-choice, but it wasn't an issue that I really cared to wade into. I was I'm not comfortable talking to
unless
people,
you're in it.
Them.
Yeah,
right. I'm not right. I don't know what the woman's circumstances. I don't really want the government to kind of the libertarian. I don't want the government to be involved. That's a decision the individual makes. But I have evolved immensely. I think mostly because the left has been so crazy radical on the other side where they want it to be celebrated. And I was like, whoa, hold on. Let's look at it. And then the more I looked at it, the more I was like, I can't support this anymore. So that's kind of been my evolution to being this very staunchly pro-life person. I realize not everyone is just like me, but I wonder as a woman if that has if you've seen the same kind of things where you're like, I don't that's not something you should celebrate.
Absolutely.
Really.
I've definitely gone through a journey. Right out of college, I was your classic, card-carrying feminist, all about it, hating men. I was doing everything right, in terms of being a woman, in comedy. And as I've gotten older, I've definitely grown, and I've met women, friends who have gotten abortions, and I see how it affects them so deeply. It's not an easy thing to go through, and it really messes with them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, on one hand, you can make jokes oh, you get a punch card, your 10th one's free. It's but when the dust settles, it's it's not something to be taken lightly. And I think we should be working to not have women be put in a situation where they've got to make that choice.
Yeah, and I mean that she brings up a good point, Chrissy does, because I think that there are a lot of women who are shocked at how they feel after they go through with it because they were told by this movement that it's something
willy-nilly.
That's really, it's great, it's hilarious, it's happy, it's something to be celebrated, and then they go through it and they're like, This is not what I thought it was going to be at all, and then they regret it.
That's why I find it hard to believe a lot of these actresses that come out and say that they had an abortion and they're proud of it and they like take a stance. I find it hard to believe that they had an abortion because there's so much emotion behind it. But to your point earlier, a good friend of mine who's a comedian who I came up with in Baltimore, who moved out to LA, he built sets for Disney. He does it now, so I can say this. He didn't realize how conservative he was until he went into the middle of nutcase land out there. And that changes your opinions. It's when you see how nutty the left is, when you see how they celebrate abortions, and the punch card's a terrible, stupid joke, but like when you see them like cheering it on and pretending like this is something to be proud of and something that doesn't emotionally affect you, it's going to turn you.
Yeah.
Because anyone who I've ever known, I've only known a few people who have gone through it, and it's because I worked with a lot of at-risk folks in Baltimore City back in the day. They were all devastated by the fact that they went through that. There's not a single person who has taken this and then cheered it on.
Yeah. Do you think that what is the generation of college kids right now? Gen Z?
Morons.
Gen Z. Well, yeah, Z is like they're
Stop, because I'm about to ask if you think that I think that there is some hope for Gen Z as far as the pro-life thing, because I think even as young as they are, they've noticed like, oh, this is not. I don't want to grow up like this, and they have taken up this platform, and I think I have some hope that they've realized they need to change.
My boyfriend has a 10-year-old son, and I see among like his son and his friends, they're all like kind of awake 10-year-olds, like they look at their teachers and they're like, oh no, we kind of, and not as many words, they're saying BLM is BS. Like we see what they're pushing on us and we're not about it.
That's so sad though.
Yeah.
At 10?
It's
at
kind
10
of
they
sad.
even like, no, I mean, my son is 8. And I shield him from any sort of anything in the political world. So much so that like we were at a Thai restaurant and they happened to have the news on, which was on mute, but he was reading it and said, well, what's Black Lives Matter? And I was like,
why does this have to come up? Right.
Store owners take this crap off the TV because I don't want to have to talk to him about it. But that's good that they're awake, but I also find it sad.
It is sad
that 10-year-olds are in that world.
You feel like, a little bit of their childhood is being robbed from them, and they have to kind of like.
When you have nutcase teachers that are pushing BLM and all of this garbage socialist nonsense, we have Republicans and conservatives have lost education. We just lost it. Rush Limbaugh made this point over and over and over again. He didn't realize that it was the one thing he felt like he had skipped out on. I'd listened many times when he talked about it. The kids are going to wake up to it because it is so nutty that children who do not have life experience but have basic common sense realize it's BS.
And it's also this, like you're kind of, your teachers are lame, you're cool as a kid. It's like you kind of want to do the opposite of what they do anyway. And it seems like the opposite of that is, you don't want to be woke,
Right, yeah. All right, we got to take a break. Back in a minute. All right, in case you have not yet done so, you got to go to wherever you get your podcasts, audio podcasts. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review The News and Why It Matters. It will help more people find it. And you may see your review read live on air, just like Coop Clan 5, who says this is the best news show on the Blaze. Coop, I know this is the only, quote, news show on the Blaze. So I see through what you're saying, but I also appreciate the flattery. This is my favorite show. I tune in every day. Always has great guests and covers the most important news stories of the day. Great insights and also some much needed humor. Love when Glenn or Pat and Stu are on the show. Sarah, I'm so glad you're back. Missed you when you were on maternity leave. Only downside of the show for me is I wish it was longer. Well, I don't, because an hour is about all I can do. I'm kidding. But also, before we go, I want to make sure you guys talk about, so Tim is getting drunk from the wine, by the way, cowgirlwine2021.com. It's so good, Tim can't stop drinking it. But you guys, we've got like 30 seconds. Let me know, or let the audience know where they can find you guys. You're touring together.
Yes, we are doing kind of like a free speech comedy tour together, myself and Tim. We have many cities booked, hopefully a city near you. Dates, go to my website for right now, ChrissyMayer.com. I noted which dates are with Tim. Some I'm headlining by myself. And follow us both on social media.
If you don't want to go to the ones with Tim, you can find that.